and welcome back. So today I'm looking at the Neewer F500 5.5 inch HDR high definition field monitor. This is literally jam-packed with features. So you can actually power this 4 different ways. And yes, I did say 4 different ways. And by the way, speaking of powering, there's also a battery and a charger included in the kit. There's also a load of other features included in this. So come on, let's get into it and I'll walk you through it and talk you through it. This video is broken into a number of different chapters, so please do feel free to skip forward to the one that suits you best. First, we're going to start with unboxing, and I have to tell you here, I actually have unboxed this field monitor about 2 weeks ago. I've been using it quite a bit, so this isn't really the unboxing, but I'm going to show you what you get inside in the kit anyway. So let's pop the box open. There we go. So inside, obviously, we have our 5.5 inch field monitor. So this is the actual monitor itself. As you can see, it's a 5.5 inch touchscreen HDR display. So that's the display, that's the first part. Popping the box open, then we have a few more bits and pieces. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pull everything out and I'm gonna talk you through exactly what it all is and what it all does. So this is what we get inside in the box itself. Firstly, we have our mounting bracket. So that basically just screws onto the actual side of the monitor itself. Again, it can be screwed onto either the bottom, the top, or the right-hand side of the monitor as you're looking at it. The other end of that then has a cold shoe mount or a hot shoe mount. So you can literally pop that onto the hot shoe of your camera and tighten that up. And away we go. That is our monitor fitted. And you can obviously tilt the screen too as well, backwards and forwards on that. So what else is inside the box? Next we have our battery, and not alone do we have the battery, but we also have a charger, and on the charger you have a USB connection there, so you can plug that in via USB, slide the battery in and charge your battery. Next then we actually have the sun hood. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this out of the actual bag itself. 2 seconds. So this is your sun visor or sun hood. Now how this works, I'm going to take this off take the bracket off just to make it a small bit easier so I can show you how it pops on. So we have this fella which goes on the top and then just clicks in place on the bottom. And that's basically it. So that's a shroud with sort of Velcro on the side of it, or hook and loop, whatever you like to call it. And again we have the hook and loop opposite fabric here. So I can just pop that on there like that. And boom, there we go. And that is the sun hood for our monitor. So it's going to provide shade, it's going to help with reflections and whatnot too as well, and direct sunlight hitting the screen so we can see what we're recording an awful lot easier. And obviously enough then, the mounting bracket can go back on then again too as well. That is that. So there's not a white box. What's inside in the white box? Inside in this white box, we have a few things. We have instruction booklets, we have cleaning cloths, silica gel patches, and we have a USB cable here, which is the USB cable for the actual charger. So you can plug that into a USB-A socket. Then we have 2 HDMI leads. So that's 1 and that's 2. And the 2 HDMI leads that are coming with this are for both a micro and a mini HDMI. So that'll cover you from most cameras. And again, if you need a HDMI to HDMI, you can get those really easily. So before we start talking about features, one of the first things I generally talk about in review is price. And right now, the Neewer F500 field monitor is about $189 on the Neewer website. You can also get 21% off that with my discount code. I'm going to leave that in the description down below because it changes the odd time and whatnot, but that will give you 21% off worldwide. The Neewer F500 field monitor, as I mentioned before, has a HDR display. It is touchscreen and it gives you beautifully vibrant, tack-sharp images, so you really get a very good feel of what you're filming and what you're capturing at the time. I should also mention it has a 160-degree viewing angle. And just going back to that point about tack-sharp, there's 2 things that are going to really help you here. Get tack-sharp images or tack-sharp footage. The first is focus peaking. So this monitor has focus peaking built in. And the second thing is there is a magnify facility so you can quickly zoom in on the area you want to see if it's in focus or not. So there are two very handy aspects to this monitor already. The touchscreen is responsive and it really helps you navigate through the menu very easily. And what I also like about it is you can switch off the touchscreen very easily too as well. So to switch on and off the touchscreen, if I press the power button here quickly, touch comes on. If I press it again, it goes off. On, off, on, off. So you can just switch on and off the touchscreen very easily like that. The F500 monitor also has an oscilloscope, a vector scope, false color, and focus peaking, as I already mentioned earlier, built into it. Here on the menu itself, you can see we have focus peaking enabled, we have our oscillogram enabled, we have vector scope on, and we have our full waveform on. To bring up these options, you can simply pull up along here, and you can switch on and off focus peaking. The brightness levels, the sound bar here too as well for audio go up and down, the vector scope, the oscillogram, and the full waveform. Or if I just double tap there now, I can actually bring up the main menu itself and navigate to whatever setting I want or need and just cancel it again. Really responsive and really easy to use. But not only that, you can also power it 4 different ways. And yes, one of those ways is the battery that's coming with the unit itself. But let's look at the 4 individual ways you can use this. The first is you can use Canon E6 batteries, or you can use the Sony NP-F batteries, or you can use the DC 12 volt in socket, or you can also use the USB-C connection, which is here. The one word of warning, if you are using USB-C, is that the USB socket you're powering it from has to be capable of giving 2 amps in order to be able to power the monitor itself. And as we're looking at the USB socket, right next to it, I should point out the DC out 8.4 volt socket, which you can use to power your camera via dummy battery, which is incredibly handy too as well. In order to be able to do that though, you need big beefy batteries. And a battery like this is absolutely perfect. It will not only power the monitor for a long time, but power the monitor and the camera for an age. And that's where the Sony NP-F batteries come in incredibly handy. You simply pop it on and that's it. That's your battery mounted in place, and that battery, as I say, can power the camera then too as well. And right next to the DC out socket is a headphone socket, and that is very handy if you want to listen to the audio you're recording at the time. Now, speaking of audio recording and audio quality and audio levels, the one other really handy thing in this monitor is you have a sound bar or a level meter so you can see how your audio is visibly doing on screen too as well. As I mentioned already, this is a full HD monitor, which is loads in a 5.5 inch screen, but it will also pass 4K through to as well through the HDMI port. You've our HDMI input, which is here, isn't it? Yeah, HDMI input, and we've our HDMI loop out. So that's handy if you want to be able to connect it up to an external monitor for a client to view it, or if you're using an external recorder, or if you're using a video sender of some form to transmit that signal somewhere else. Now, one of the things I haven't talked about as of yet is build quality, and that's for a very good reason, because the first time I opened the newer F500 field monitor out of the box, I thought, wow, this is really light. And I didn't mean that in a good way. I thought, is this really built to last? But using it for the last couple of weeks, I've been really surprised. And that lightweightedness is something I actually really like now, because I actually started using this on my gimbal too as well, and attach it to the handle and a HDMI lead going to the camera. It just works really well. And weight is not something you really want in a situation like that. But overall, I have to say, after using this for about 2 weeks, I'm really happy with the build quality. It's funny how something you perceive as a disadvantage first, when you actually start to use something, then after a while you're kind of going, oh, I can actually really see where this is handy. But in saying that, all the buttons, controls and everything else, they work beautifully, as you would expect from something from newer. The other thing I haven't mentioned as of yet is the SD card slot. And the SD card slot is primarily for popping in an SD card with LUTs installed in it. So you can actually have your own LUTs on the monitor to kind of preview your footage. And that is incredibly handy, yet again, in such a reasonably priced monitor. So this brings us to, how do I normally use this monitor? And you might very well think, that's the way I'm going to use it. I'm going to have it mounted into the hot shoe and the camera and work away from there. HDMI lead down to the HDMI socket, Bob's your uncle and off you go. Well, actually, that is not the way I use it. What I will do is, I will actually take off the supplied mounting bracket. I'm going to pop on a different mounting bracket on here now, and don't worry, I'm going to leave a link to this fella down below in the description too as well. And I'm going to pop on my top handle. That is a NATO clamp, so I'm going to pop that on there. This fits into the cold shoe, and just tighten this up like that. And that is how I will use this monitor with, again, obviously enough the HDMI cable going down and whatnot. So one of the main advantages of using it this way is you can actually rotate the monitor from side to side, and you can also angle it backwards and forwards too as well. There's no need to be bending up and down and turning to the side or shooting off to the side here slightly. You can see exactly what you're doing. That is a really nice addition. That small little mounting bracket really is worth its weight in gold, and it's not that dear too as well. There is nothing wrong with the mounting bracket that's supplied with the monitor itself, but I just much prefer this. So finally then, this is an example of how I'd use the F500 field monitor on my kind of run and gun camera rig. So it's mounted onto the top handle, then I have my side handle here too as well, and the fact you have the extra width is going to really help you stabilize your footage again. And the beauty of all this is, it is so incredibly quick and easy to take this all apart. So I can basically just turn this lever here, take off my side handle, turn the lever on top here, and take off my top handle and my monitor. And all of a sudden, I'm just back to my camera again. Popping it back online again, because of the fact that there's NATO rails on the top and on the side of the actual camera cage, it is super easy to put that together. You can put it together without hardly even looking. That's just nuts. It's so quick and so easy to use that. Thanks again for watching. I hope this video was of some slight help to you, and see you out there and mind yourselves.